and they keep going back to the cushion to achieve these states rather than working on integration, which is really dealing with the trauma.
It's exactly what I was just talking about. Gabor Mate is a world-renowned expert in areas including addiction, trauma, childhood development, and stress. And in this video, we're going to review a clip in which he's discussing a topic known as spiritual bypassing and how we can avoid that in order to move beyond the challenges that we are currently experiencing and that we may have been experiencing for a long time in our lives.
Yes, that's very interesting because it reminds me of this a concept of spiritual bypassing,
Yes.
which in a way it's this experience that, and you see it sometimes in spiritual seekers, where you're instead of integrating the trauma or the suffering, you are able to explain it away in some sense with spiritual terms, right? So where you can use terms like oneness and love, and there is maybe.
I would also say that another way people are allowed to explain away the issues that they're experiencing in their lives are by saying things like, oh, this is just who I am, or that this is what works for me. This is the kind of language that is very ambiguous, and it's a great way to put up a smokescreen whenever, the opportunity to address those challenges or, these meaningful experiences that we're having. This is another way that they're often explained away within the spiritual community.
Krishnamurti call it an intellectual understanding, which is a little bit similar to what you were saying, which.
Right. It's having an intellectual understanding, which is to say that you understand something logically, but not emotionally, not spiritually, not in a way where you actually connect with it.
But the experience or the contact with whatever that is, let's say oneness, is not there. And I suspect that it has to do with this disconnection that we have. We are already numb at a personal level, so then we will be numb to oneness as well, as it were.
I think that's absolutely right. Intellectual bypassing, of course, is what you see in a lot of academic publications and institutions. They're very smart. They know a lot of hair, but it's disconnected from the heart. The spiritual bypass is interesting. People can actually achieve beautiful states of serenity as long as they're sitting on a meditation cushion. Now they think, I've attained it. But out there in life, they can't integrate what they've experienced on the cushion.
Right, and I would often say this is very true, 100% what he is saying. And what I can tell you, the reason why that happens is because people practice meditation in a circumstance that doesn't match what their everyday life looks like. For example, they might have a room in their home, or they might have a studio where it's a peaceful environment, there's music playing, there might be silence, but that's not what everyday life is like. And so whenever people go back to the mat, so to speak, as an escape, it's because they haven't actually integrated those practices into their everyday lives. They're not practicing in times when it's actually challenging. And those are the kinds of experiences that really change who you are. And people are not doing that. So that's why they're using the mat as if it's kind of like a drug, because it's a way of escaping their normal everyday life, which is actually very chaotic. But if they instead practiced in the circumstances that they most often encounter in their everyday lives, then they wouldn't view these practices as an escape. It would truly just be an integrated part, a new aspect of their selves that they've unlocked and that they've used in a beneficial way so that it actually helps their everyday lives. It's not something that they use to escape their everyday lives.
And they keep going back to the cushion to achieve these states rather than working on integration, which is really dealing with the trauma.
That's exactly what I was just talking about. They're not addressing the issues, the challenges of their everyday lives with these practices. They're using it as an escape. And that's exactly what Dr. Gabor Mate is speaking about.
In the spiritual world, this can reach extreme lengths. And I don't have, recently another scandal in another spiritual organization, a Shambhala organization. You probably know about that, where the leader of it turns out to have been sexually exploiting participants for years and years, and people shut their eyes to this. Now there's a scandal. Similar.
I remember hearing about this, and there were a lot of well-known people within the spiritual community, so to speak, who were defending what this person did. And, you could definitely tell that there was an aspect of hesitance because of how closely involved they were with the association that this person was leading, the Shambhala tradition. And it was very surprising to see. These are people who are practicing or partaking in spiritual bypassing. They're not willing to truly see what's happening for what it is. They're still clinging on to, you could say that's an aspect of the ego, the need to be seen in a specific way.
Scandals in major spiritual organizations, religious organizations. And what's really interesting, I'm talking about the bypass inside these leaders. Because on the one hand, it's true, they convey a lot of wisdom. They've obviously attained a lot of spiritual knowledge, but it's completely cut off from the rest of their being. So on the one hand, they can teach and genuinely teach. This is the dilemma. It's not that they're lying or pretending. What they're teaching, I think they genuinely have experienced or understand. But on the other hand, there's a part of them that's capable of exploiting their power to feed their own egos. And so talk about spiritual bypass. There's the extreme example of it. But we're all capable of it. We may not all have the power or the ego to exploit it to that extent.
That's an incredible thing to say. And what he's mentioning is that essentially, no matter who you are, it's 100% possible for you to fall into this trap. And I completely agree. In many ways, of course, we're all aware of things that we could do to improve our lives. And, there's a gap between the awareness and the action being taken to actually address the thing that we are aware of. There's obviously this gap in time, and we're constantly in the middle of that. And it's important to ask ourselves, when looking inside to see those uncomfortable truths, the challenges that we're facing, to ask ourselves, what can we do to make progress and improve so that we're not constantly being held back by these issues that are keeping us where we are, that are keeping us in the perspective, that are maintaining the pattern of thought that we are experiencing on a regular basis. These issues that we are trying to spiritually bypass around are actually causing us to go around and around in a loop versus moving more and more upward in an upward spiral. So thank you so much for watching this video. I hope this was enjoyable, entertaining, and educational for you. And make sure to subscribe to this channel if you would like to see more videos like this one. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. What do you feel is an example of how people commonly spiritually bypass? I would love to know your perspective on that as well. Thank you so much for watching this video, and until the next one, I love you all. Peace.